My name's Cosmos Fitzpatrick, president of Aden Brook. My whole life I've been around baling and producing hay and forages. My first 4 years of employment, I was a farm hand, ran baler operations. We do about 2,000 to 3,000 acres of hay, and then I would do 50,000 acres of wheat straw. Harvest start in Virginia and go out to Wyoming. We run balers all through the summertime, help pay for college and beer. And then I eventually I came into the business. My brother had started the business. I took the reins after he went on to do other business ventures, and he's still involved. But I run the business now, along with Anna here.
Hello everyone. Obviously I have left Long Island. I have moved upstate. I used to buy from Aden Brook. That's how I was like, oh, let me see if they're hiring. And I was like, great hay team. So here I am now. I obviously you all knew I was a hay supplier. I learned a lot about hay when I ran my business. And then going in with them, I was able to expand my knowledge into so many different forages. And that's what we're going to go over today, how important it is to feed your horse the right stuff, because then they look like crap and eat crap. We all know that.
So one of the main things I want to start off with is what we are at Aden Brook. We're not there to sell everyone hay. That's not our goal is not to sell everyone here on hay and shavings. Our goal is to bring movement to the agricultural markets. That from the beginning, the way we got started, there were farmers that had hay and they didn't know where to sell it to because there was a surplus of hay on the market. And we brought it to the market where they needed to get it sold. And we saw those farmers thrive. Those farmers, they put food on their table, and the people who needed the hay, they also were able to save some money, do things a little bit more efficiently, feed something a little better of quality. And we realized that if we become an expert in this market, we will move the agricultural markets. I was told this by an old farmer who recently died this past year, but he said, you don't stop moving when you die. You die when things stop moving. And the same goes for nutrition that we're going to talk about tonight. The same goes for bedding. Okay, when things stop moving, when movement ceases, okay, then the business dies, the agricultural economy dies. And first off, I want to say I'm impressed at what you guys are doing here at IHA. I think it's really important because as we bring really young people to horses and bring horses to young people, we keep that side of the agricultural economy moving, but it also teaches really important values for young people. Values like how to manage things, how to do certain things, work ethic, all these things that you learn, you take for granted, but it's really, really great what you guys are doing. So tonight we're going to go over animal health, the way we look at animal health. We're going to go over forages. There'll be a quiz at the end. No quiz. We're going to go over bedding. And how these markets operate. We're going to talk about the markets because really that's what we are. We're market experts, okay? We have a really good understanding of nutrition. We have a really good understanding of animal health, okay? And our biggest asset to you is that we understand the markets, and our job every day is to be on top of what's happening in the market and what your decision needs to be down the road. You're each running a business. Okay, you got a business mindset, whether you're keeping it within a budget or trying to save more money to get to the, to contribute to the different functions you're trying to do. So our job is to save you, save you the most buck, but also to understand what's going on in the market so we can be as proactive as possible and save some money. So, go ahead.
I was just going to add to that as well, not just getting you the products, getting you the best products. Your horse can perform the best, your digestive system is at its best performance, so you don't have colics and all this mayhem I've seen. We all have seen it. And our company is able to bring those products like Western alfalfa and stuff. That's a topic that a lot of us try to get our hands on every year. And like different products just to help expand better, I guess, nutrition for us.
Absolutely. So, so we'll start off with forages. Who can tell me? Well, actually, let's see. What is a forage?
What
would you say a forage is?
Hey, cube.
Hay cube. So it's roughage. Okay. Anyone else have a definition for forage? Grass. Yeah, grass. But it can also include like silage and different types of. So it's a roughage. It's a type of. It's a. Yes, it's grass, and it can be in the form of pasture, or it can be in the form of dried forages. Okay, so we call it dry forages. That's what you're seeing up here is dried out forages. All the water is removed, or it's down to 12% or less moisture in these. Forages. We believe that forages are the foundation of a horse's diet. Okay, there should be the foundation of a horse's diet. You've seen the horse pyramid. The vast majority of your horse's diet needs to be forages. Why would that be? That's what they eat in the wild. Exactly. It's natural. It's natural. So, why is it important to feed forages?
It's your turn.
Aside from that.
But we all know when we look at that pyramid for forages, so it's forages, it's grain, and then it's supplements. If your horse is only living on grain and one flake of hay, they're gonna have more digestive problems because they're not like forages are designed to keep them busy and also to keep their flow moving 24/7. I've seen so many horses get sick and they eat one flake of hay in the morning and one at night, and then they have all this grain to keep fat on them. We all know we're trying to cut costs and whatnot, and that's what we're going to get into as well. But forages need to make up more parts of horses' diets rather than grain.
Right, exactly. And going back to movement, movement is life. Truly, believe this. A horse's digestive tract needs to stay moving. They're meant to eat for up to 14 to 18 hours a day. Their digestive tract, the back end of their digestive tract is built it produces large amounts of acid. Okay, if it doesn't have forages to break down inside the digestive tract, those acids will irritate the walls of the digestive system, causing ulcers and other issues. The other one you said acid colic or gas colic. So your animal's meant to constantly have something to forage on. Now you could quickly have a fat horse if you feed them really good premium hay all the time, or large amounts of hay. If they have availability of really nice hay all the time, they're going to blow right up. So it's important. We're going to talk about what's best for your horse, starting with what kind of horse you have. So in nature, a horse will live on pasture, in pasture land typically, and they will graze as needed on forages. Okay, the forages, the life of a forage starts with a seed, falls off, lands in the soil. Okay, it grows and goes through 3 phases. In its early vegetative phase, the seed will form leaves. Okay, and you'll see this in the early spring as grass starts to green up. You'll see a very leafy grass start to form. This is a very high protein, nutrient dense plant that's forming. All of the nutrients, the plant is putting all of its energy, let's per se, in the leaves of the plant. Okay. As the plant grows, the leaves form, and the goal of plants, just like the goal of everyone else or every other species, is to reproduce. So the leaves form on the outside, and then a stem forms on the inside, a tubular stem. Okay, this is what we look at when we talk about first cutting. So the tubular stem forms in the center of the plant. The leaves are there to produce energy, capture as much energy as they can from the sun, and draw up as much nutrients from the soil as possible. it puts all of its energy into the growth of this stem to make this stem grow as tall as possible. Then, in the late stage of the stem, a head starts to form inside or wrapped around the leaves. Okay? This head is how we determine, or it typically determines what type of hay. When we look at things, we see the different heads inside them. I can tell that's an orchard grass in there. Okay? We see the head of the plant. That head is distinguished to the type of species of plant. The head comes out of the boot, so we call it's wrapped in leaves, and as the head emerges from the leaves, and it's almost ready to reproduce, we call that the boot stage. Okay, the point in the grass's life when it's at its highest nutrient density. It's taken all of the energy out of the soil in the leaves, and also it's exerted as much of it into the plant's growth, and that's when grass is at its most nutrient dense stage. Then the plant goes out to flower, so the head expands and seeds fall off the plant, and wind comes and blows the seeds, and it continues to reproduce. That's the life stage of grass. Legumes, okay? Who knows what a legume is?
Vegetable.
Vegetable?
Bean.
Some vegetables, beans.
Bean.
Beans are legumes, yeah. Alfalfa is also a legume, okay? Legume looks a little bit different, okay? It doesn't grow exactly the same. It has a stem that forms, okay, and it branches up, kind of like a blueberry bush or something else. It looks like a bush more, okay, as it grows. It has multiple stems that come off in many different directions. Leaves form off those stems, and then a flower forms in the late stage. Just like the head of the grass plant forms, a flower forms, and you'll see purple flowers in your alfalfa sometimes. That's when it's reached its stage where it's in reproductive stage. Are there any purple alfalfa? Okay, if you see purple flowers in your alfalfa, that means it's gone past the point of its highest protein stage. It's gone, and oftentimes Western alfalfa, you won't see this because they have optimal growing conditions out there. They always cut on time, and they always cut at the premium or prime protein stage. That's why Western quality is one of the advantages of Western quality. So what I'm talking about here is the life stage of plants. The reason I'm talking about it is because you're going to need it for the quiz at the end. The reason I'm talking about it is because when you're looking at hay and you're purchasing hay and you're looking at hay, you're the one, okay, in the barn that's taking it away flake by flake. As people who are out there, as farmers that are producing the hay, they see it when they cut it, but their stages of grasses change. Whether it's on the top of the hill, that the top of the hill might ripen faster than the lower side of the hill. All these things change. So hay is going to be what it's going to be. Okay, we do our best to grade hay, and we look at the hay, but not all hay is going to be consistent throughout. Okay, as horse owners and as the people who are feeding it flake by flake, you want to be able to understand what you're feeding, so you can decide how you can balance the nutrients in that hay for your horse. Maybe they need a little bit more, maybe they need a little bit less, and what you're feeding. Now, in the wild, okay, do horses always eat forage at its premium protein stage? No. Nope. They eat it through its premium protein stage into its poor protein stage, and then undergrowth starts to grow up as the new seeds have fallen on the ground and new growth starts to come and they eat that. So they're eating an array of all different types of grasses. So when we buy forage for our animal, okay, it doesn't have to be all one protein stage. We're not looking for it to be exactly formulated the same exact way all the way through. Your horse is built to digest a varying amount of forage, okay, a varying degree of nutrition, and that's why, as horse owners, you're in complete control of the food they're eating. You need to be able to balance it. Maybe in the wild they would eat a little bit more if it's in the late protein stage. So that's why we're gonna do our best to discuss that and talk about how we can balance it. So I said legumes are alfalfa, okay? So one type of legume is an alfalfa, okay? Legumes typically have your highest density of protein. Where is the protein in alfalfa? Who feeds alfalfa? Hands up. All right, where is the protein found in alfalfa?
I don't know. And it would be in the stem part of it.
No, not in the stem, in the other part, in the leaf, in the leaf. So when we look for alfalfa, the leaf contains almost all of the protein for that plant. There is protein in the stems, but it's more in the leaf. So when we're looking at grading alfalfa, we're looking at the leaf density of alfalfa. Okay. These days, there's modern baling equipment that very recently came around, hay steamers, that when they bale hay out west, they have an issue where the hay can become too dry, and as they bale it, all the leaves will crumble. And when you guys go and take the flake off, you'll see all of your alfalfa fall on the floor, and you'll have a handful of stems. Who's been in that situation? Yeah. Okay, and you're like, really, your horse is not really interested because it's like, I didn't want a pile of branches to eat the things. So alfalfa with a steamer, it all holds together in one big mat. Okay, but these things are not always available. Steamed alfalfa, some farmers have it. It's a very expensive piece of equipment. Other farmers don't. So once there's no more of it, there's no more of it until it doesn't get produced in a factory. It's going to be next year until it comes around. So understanding what we're seeing here, we're looking for leafier alfalfa. Steamed alfalfa might be a little bit more expensive, but it's a more efficient hay to feed. Your horse is going to get more out of it.
This is a question.
Go ahead.
When you steam it, does it make the flakes of hay more compressed?
Not necessarily more compressed. They're more dense, so the bales will be heavier. You'll notice
those are the ones.
steamed alfalfa bales will be a good 20 pounds heavier,
Yes.
but you're actually baling the same amount of alfalfa in the field than you would unsteamed. There's 20 pounds more of leaf in your alfalfa, 20 pounds more of nutrient density in your alfalfa. Now, would you feed the same amount of that alfalfa versus you would feed less of it, right? You need to adjust.
We usually mix it with a good second cut.
Yep, that's a great way to do it. Second cut usually holds the leaves intact too. It allows them to, second cut's a good one for the animal to kind of pick through and hold the leaves in. So,
you give them that dead stuff to play with so they have something.
yes. So that's a legume. Anyone know any other types of legumes that are grasses that we feed our horses? Peanut hay, yes, correct. Peanut hay is a legume. It's a stemier. It has a larger stem, but it also has the same type of structure. Looks like a bush that grows up, has leaves, and the proteins are in the leaves. Anyone else? Another one? Starts with a C. Clover. Clover. What did you say?
Cannabis.
That's a different type of grass. We don't sell that grass. But clover is very close to alfalfa. What's the difference in clover? Do you know the difference between clover and alfalfa? What's the nutrient difference? Okay, so the difference between clover and alfalfa is clover will have a higher sugar level. Okay? Everyone complains if you're feeding clover or something, their horse gets into clover, they're just drooling like crazy. They'll see shoelaces coming out of their mouth. It's not bad for your horse. They're just producing a lot more saliva because it's a very scrumptious food. They love clover. Clover is very. A lot of people don't like clover when they see it because the stem is a lot thicker than alfalfa. So they think it looks like they're expecting it to look like alfalfa, but the stem is triple the size. So they're like, this is the stemmiest alfalfa I've ever seen. It's not the case. It's clover. But there's red clover and yellow clover. Both are good for horses. Both are also, they do well for goats and sheep, especially goats that are that are giving birth and they need extra protein. So clover is another legume. For grasses, okay, the most popular grass, who can name a grass that they feed their horses? You the young one. Grasses, what types of grass? Oh, good answer. Yes. All right, you're phoning a friend.
Grass.
Grass? No. Orchard. I heard orchard and timothy. Okay, the two most popular in the Northeast are orchard and timothy. Usually when we get a mixed grass, who here buys mixed grass hay? It's just a grass hay, they call it, at the store. Grass hay is typically what's sold on. Okay, it's a mix of timothy, orchard, and brome hay. Okay, timothy, orchard, and brome. All three are really good. They're natural grasses. They're things that your horses are meant to eat. They have a good balance of fiber along with nutrients. So those are the benefits of grasses. It's a good balanced diet. Alfalfa is very nutrient dense. Okay, so Anna, why don't you talk about the three types of the horses, the types of horses you have.
Alright, so obviously we have high performance horses, that's your race horses, that's your big hunter jumpers, that's big barrel horses like Diane Boone's horse. But you know, like you have those types, you have your pleasure horses, that's our drill team horses, our quiet, easygoing, getting the routine done. And then we also have our compromise or our disabled horses. We all know I have my Arizona, who's my little pet that Melanie's trying to steal. But for those types of horses, all those three types have to be fed differently. If I feed Arizona a crazy high protein level alfalfa, she's probably going to become as fat as a tick and keel over. But then if I have a horse like a lot of you guys know Saber, who's got to be jumping and going everywhere with me, he needs more higher proteins, a better quality food to keep his athletic lifestyle, I guess you could do that. So most of us have either performance horses or pleasure horses in this general scheme, I would say.
To just add one thing to compromise horses. How many of you have had horses that have no teeth or lack of teeth? Okay, this is like the most common type of a compromised horse that I would say. They're still our friend, we love them. Okay, not getting rid of them, but we ought to make sure that they're eating their hay. And you notice when they don't have teeth, you'll see they're balling up the hay and the hay's falling out on the floor. They can't chew it. What are you going to do with this thing? So there's a few different ways, a few different products here that I want to show you that are meant for compromised horses. Okay, first off, when your horse doesn't have teeth, okay, it can't grind up hay. Okay, it can't cut it, or it might be able to cut it, but it can't grind it up to swallow and digest it. So that is typically where second cutting comes in. Second cutting is typically a slightly more nutrient dense form of hay. Okay, but second cutting is a softer hay that your horse will be able to swallow without, first cutting is going to have that long stem for reproduction. So once a farmer comes in and cuts first cutting out of the way, when the hay grows back, it stays in its vegetative form for a very long time. It will go back into a reproductive form and it will create another stem, but it'll take a while longer. Every time you cut it, it takes a while longer to come back. So the vegetative form is just leaves. That's what you're looking at when you look at second cutting. It's soft to the touch. Okay, when you feel second cutting, it's soft to the touch. First cutting, you're going to feel the sticks in there. You're going to feel the stems. It's not sticks, stems in there. And those stems will be a little rougher to the touch. So second cutting is meant more commonly for compromised horses. Okay, you can feed it to your normal, to your uncompromised horses just as well. They like it. Sometimes they like it a little too much and they eat it too quickly. So remember we talked about horses need to eat over a long period of time. So if they eat their food too quickly, one of the issues I see when we talk about ulcers and things is we'll feed our horse. Oh, who knows how much you're supposed to feed your horse every day? 1 to 2% of their body weight. Yes, depending on their physical exertion, 1 to 2% of their body weight. So if you have a 1,000-pound horse, how many pounds is that? 10 pounds. Right. 10 to 20 pounds. Okay.
Combination feed and forage.
Of combination feed and forage. Correct. So if we're feeding. She's gonna get 100 on it. So a combination of the two. So if you give them 10 pounds of forage and they eat it really quickly, it's gonna go into their digestive tract and travel through their digestive tract. But they're meant to eat for 14 to 18 hours a day. So if it travels through, if we feed our horses with meals instead of feeders that won't create longevity in their eating habits, it'll cause a pause in their digestive tract where all the hay will move through the digestive tract, and then that acidity will build up in one area and instead irritate the stomach, can cause ulcers. So if you're having problems with ulcers and things like that, you really want to think about first, let's make sure that the animal's eating over a long period of time. Okay. Second cutting, one of the downsides of it, they love it. They'll eat it really quickly. So you have to use hay baskets. We're all using hay nets, and we're double netting and triple netting for some of these horses. But we want to slow them down if they're eating too quickly. One other way, hay cubes. Okay, especially for compromised horses. This is essentially the same thing as this type of hay in a very dense form. Very dense form. You soak this in water, warm water, or you steam it. Okay, steam it. It'll soften up. It'll become soft, and you put it in a pail for them to eat. A good way for a compromised horse to get its nutrients. Okay, and also eat forage, which it's meant to digest. Okay. Again, you're going to want to space this out throughout the day, so there's several times. One other thing, okay, when we're talking about ulcers, there's alfalfa is a big blamer for colic. Okay, let's debunk that. Oh, for sugar levels. Yes. For sugar levels. Okay, a spike in sugar levels, or my horse gets crazy when I eat alfalfa. Okay. Alfalfa has a balance of fiber and protein in it. Okay, if you feed too much alfalfa, it's a very nutrient dense form of forage. So if you feed too much alfalfa, you're gonna have your animal get very fat or unhealthy in certain ways. That unhealthiness can show in different forms. But alfalfa is one of the best things for ulcers. Your animal has ulcers. Alfalfa is one of the best forages to give your brothers. Okay. I always tell everyone, okay, I'm not here. I have many vets that we consult with. We supply a lot of vets and things with vets in different hospitals, horse hospitals, with premium forages from different parts of the U.S. where they have the most select types of forages to help them. One of the most common forms of forages that vets and clinics are purchasing is they purchase second cutting and they purchase alfalfa. Those are the two things that a horse will need to recover. Now, that's not meant for your maintenance horse. These are horses that need to heal, need to recover. So when we're talking about forages, also I want to disclaimer here. I have a lot of knowledge from talking to all these people and learning and supplying the market. My expertise is in the market. Everyone might have different circumstances with their horses, so I'd always consult with someone, with a vet or someone for changing their diet completely. But I do have a lot of experience with seeing what way an average horse person operates inside their barn, which ways are more effective than others. So one other type of forage. There's a couple different types of forage. Has anyone heard of tefe?
Yes.
Tefe? Okay, so tefe drops the mic on her way out. So tefe is a new type of hay that's from out west, okay? It's a blend, it's a blended type of hay. It's slightly genetically modified to accommodate the Western markets because it grows in different parts of the world. But it's been genetically modified. It's not sprayed with anything different than or really treated with anything. It's been bred to grow tall. Okay, out west. It produces a very low sugar hay. Timothy is one of the more common low sugar hays to feed your horse if you have a horse with diabetic issues. But Tep is a product that's it's a hay that's produced out west. It's becoming more popular. It can't really be produced here on the East Coast very well. Some people have been successful producing it, but you have to have complete optimal conditions. It's very hard to dry it out in the sun. You get a good example? Timothy needs about 3 to 4 days to dry in the sun. Once we cut it, 3 to 4 days of sunlight, we bale it. Here on the East Coast, sometimes 3 to 4 days, you're lucky if you get that of sunlight. Long Island, maybe not so much, but upstate, definitely. Teff hay is like 10 days of drying, and by the time it's dry, it looks pale. It's all bleached out. So it's really not desirable. Out west, in desert conditions where they grow this, they'll have pivots that irrigate desert land. They'll grow this and it'll dry in 3 days. And they'll be able to bale a nice green forage that's low sugar. So we do have that available. I want to wrap that up for forages. We'll move on to bedding. So, go ahead.
Alright, obviously we all need bedding in our stalls. If you don't bed down in your stalls, you're either on mats and you're going to get rubs on your horses, and we all have dealt with hock sores and all those mayhem problems that we've all have probably seen and whatnot. So it's very important to bed down properly and to keep the area clean from bacteria, because then we'll get thrush, and then we all have dealt with barriers being like, well, your horse has thrush, and then it takes weeks or months to take, gotten rid of, taken care of. Obviously, we all have our different ways of bedding, whether it's a dumpster problem, we have to use pellet bedding, or you want to use all these shavings, and your shavings are this thick. We all have our different ways. So it's important to meet your needs from our company to say, okay, if you use a large Flake shaving, we have a great supplier upstate close to us that can get it here pretty cheap. I've seen when I left Long Island, I was paying $8 for a bag of shavings, and that's terrifying. Upstate, it's like $5. You use fine shavings?
I use Tract Supply, most recently available.
That's a pretty good brand. We have comparisons to that, but we have a great brand in top bedding that's very comparable. That's even better for absorbing.
And quite a bit heavier in day. So you want to be weary about two things with bedding. Well, two things with bedding. Okay, you'll see the cubic or how many cubic feet are inside the bag. Okay, that is an obscure number right there. That's a number that everyone loves to put on the bag. How many cubic feet? It's 10 cubic feet. It's 12 cubic foot bag. Okay, it all depends on who's spreading it out on how much cubic feet. There's no standardized measurement for cubic feet. Okay, think about the type of shavings, the size flake you have, to the heaviness of the bag. Really, the weight of the bag. Okay, manufacturers of shavings, we have a lot of different manufacturers of shavings that we move a lot of shavings for them. In fact, we move more shavings than we do hay across the U.S. Last year, I think we did 6 million bags of shavings. The shavings market specifically has several different types of bedding that they produce, or the wood, I call it the wood industry, has several different forms of shavings they produce. So I'll give you a few examples here. So we'll start, a log comes in, specifically a virgin timber log for large flake, and they have specifically a shaving machine that has a planer on it, and it produces flakes like this. Large flake shavings, the benefits, it fluffs out. It makes the most bedding, the most cushion. The purpose of animal bedding is to produce comfort for your animal, okay? if an animal's in a comfortable setting, hey, let's compare it to ourselves, okay? We can be eating all the right foods, and if we're not comfortable where we're living, or if we're stressed constantly where we're living, we have to sleep on this floor here, we're not going to be healthy. Our body it's not going to consume nutrients right. It's not going to be overall healthy. So we need to be comfortable in our setting. So large flake shavings, they provide a lot of cushion. They lack entirely in absorbency. Okay, and that's the biggest complaint about large flake shavings. It doesn't sift through the forks. Yep, one of the other big complaints. You throw out a lot of large flake. We call these show flake shavings, but it's made. They're planed off. Second option would be, this is like a mixed shaving, okay? So what they're doing here is they have shavings that are coming off of the lump. This is a mixed shaving from top bed, okay? Comes out of Quebec, Canada. Important feature here. What's going on at the Canadian border? Okay. Top bedding, okay? They will supply here to Long Island, and we'll have a good supply of this all through the summer, okay? They are still delivering orders for us, and they do have a dedicated fleet of drivers. Yes, we do, lots of it. And they produce very good quality hay, especially Ontario up to Saskatchewan and Alberta. Beautiful quality hay that we can get here. But this shaving is a byproduct of the lumber industry, okay? These logs are specifically, the logs are rejected for making like 2x4s and trim, and these logs are hewn into shavings. These logs, when they make the 2x4s, they call it rough cut. Okay, they make them rough cut at first. Then the wood is planed down. When you go into Home Depot, you touch the wood, it's nice and soft. It goes through a planing process. This is the byproduct of the planing process. Quebec is full of lumber companies. Okay, they're one of the biggest producing parts in the world of lumber, and all those lumber companies, they plane all their products. They take all of the shavings and they throw it into a pile, and then Top Bedding comes along and picks it up. They take the shavings from all different companies, they mix them together, and they put them into a giant vat where they dry out the shavings down to less than 10% moisture. They screen off as much dust as they can, and then you see, and go ahead and pass this around, but you'll see a mix of fines and medium flake. This is a fine shaving from Top Bedding. Again, you'll see the mix, okay? It has larger pieces and smaller pieces all in there, okay? This, okay, is a large flake. You'll see there's very few small pieces in there. That's large, okay? Now, this is pellets, okay? After everything's screened off, all the fine material that's made from the wood products, it gets pulverized into an incredibly fine form, pushed through a machine that removes all the oxygen from it, makes a pellet form. I know there's a lot of people here that like pellets. I have started to love pellets, okay? Pellets have been available from a few different companies here in the U.S., which is a logistic advantage right now because you can actually get them across the border. There's not a 3-month lead time like there is for a lot of Canadian shavers. So pellets are very dense form of bedding, but they're very absorbent. That's their benefit. Okay, they can be dusty, okay, but they're very absorbent. Okay, to help you guys understand is that navigating the market, there's a lot of different products that work on the market. Starting with forages, there's different products, there's different ways to balance your horse's nutrients with it. And there's different ways that, as we understand the market, there's different places where these hays come from. They come from out west, they come from upstate, they come from Ontario, they come from Ohio, all over these places, okay? And we're shipping a lot down to Florida right now because they don't really produce much down in the southeast that's of nutrient density. But all these things it's a logistics battle to know what the value of the product is, what the cost of the product is, and what it'll be worth in your farm. Okay, so our main concern is not to sell you on hay, it's to guide you through the market. We just want to advise you on what's going to be best, okay? If we can help you, we will. If we can help you, we absolutely will. We want to. But our main concern is we want to be your guide. And we want even, well, what's your current rate for just a phone call? What are you charging? Still zero? All right, so we have a lot of software that we built into the company. So we built a lot of software into the company, and that software tracks where all these products are. It tracks the logistic channels, and that's what Anna and the rest of the team has access to. So it doesn't hurt when you're looking for forages. You're looking to make a decision on what you want to do for these. You see that the price of pellets or the price of grain has spiked. How many of you guys are feeling the price of grain increase? It's gone way up, and it will continue to go up. It'll continue to go up extremely going into the next year here. So we want to be your first phone call. If you want to know about the market, it's free to call us and ask about the market. It's free to call us and get advice on it. Anything else? All right, well, thank you guys so much for having us.